Hi, everybody. We just got done with one of the biggest drops Veve has ever done in a new vertical, and somehow I don't feel so good. So this week has been Blackpink week. Super exciting. Myself as a Korean person, obviously really excited to see them enter that specific market. Blackpink is a huge band, and really, I honestly don't know as much about it as a lot of people, so I've been learning along with everybody else. I was able to grab the secret rare cards. I really like those kind of collectible cards. Maybe that means they'll be getting something else down the road. I don't know. But unfortunately, as we know, I, like many others, have felt like perhaps this drop didn't go as well as we thought. So that's really the topic of today's video. So let's dig right into it. So really, I want to talk a little bit about why I think I feel bad about it, and then kind of more elaborate on kind of the always three things on this channel of what I think are some of the challenges that we're seeing with Veve right now. So let's get right into the Blackpink drop. So there's been a lot of videos done, and a lot of people have talked more eloquently than I about kind of how, maybe there's too many additions, too many different collectibles. It was too confusing. You craft this, you get, and I tend to agree with a lot of that. I think maybe we have the ability to, be armchair quarterbacks and look back in time and say that. But even when it started coming out, I started doing a little bit of my own research, which I obviously always say everybody should do on their own. And I was looking around eBay, and some of the signed stuff that I saw, physical stuff, was going for $30-$40, some of the signed albums. Now, once again, I don't know if I'm looking at the right stuff. I'm not a Blackpink fan, so I apologize if I was. But, I saw some physical albums that were signed by all four of the women, and they were going for $250. So I was thinking, oh, if I were to get all these different things and all the different, it would all sell out. I think to get the SRs, it was, $900 or something like that. So some of the price points didn't feel right to me. Obviously, we had no clue about how many new users we were going to get. We, of course, thought, hopefully thousands, hundreds. We didn't know. We do know that they have, millions, hundreds of millions of fans around the world. So it's just kind of this, question of what's going to happen. I did look at some of the stuff on IG that Veve had posted, and there were, thousands of likes. So I was thinking, oh my, maybe there are going to be 50,000 people that jump in here. But if you look at how history repeats itself and look at some of the things that we've seen in the past, I'll use comics because this is a comic channel. I do believe in comics and crypto and other people that I've talked to, that of the physical comic book people, we have maybe 5% of those people are involved with Veve, and maybe even smaller percent, 1-2%. 3% of them are kind of really into it, like myself or some other people. And so if you kind of use that number and extrapolate out, still it could be potentially thousands, but yeah, I wasn't so sure we were going to be able to get as many people as we wanted. They obviously did a huge marketing push, and they were able to even get all of the Blackpink members to shout it out on their IG. And so I don't look at it as a failure in terms of attempted marketing. I actually don't look at it as a failure at all. I just look at it as a data point which they should use to go forward. So one of the things about it I think is interesting that I'll kind of back up to a more higher 10,000 foot level is, what does this drop show, and what does it kind of give us insight into what we were thinking of where the company's at? And I'll just give you some of my thoughts on it. I have just 3 different things that I definitely think that the Blackpink drop, it's not like, and we tend to, everybody obviously always is, hyperbole, like, if this fails, the whole company's going to fail. No, I don't think this is a, matter of like, oh no, the sky is falling. But can you kind of glean different pieces of the puzzle that they're trying to struggle with at Veve, and what does that tell us about their future and some of the other things? So I'll talk about those 3 things. So the 3 things are, the first one is, I do think there is kind of an issue of focus there. I will say that what Veve is attempting to do is really incredible. I mean, they're really attempting to create an entire ecosystem, which is difficult. The Veveverse, they've got the Omi token. They're selling, comics. They're selling, these type of potentially music collectibles. They're going into sports. So they're really trying to do a lot. And in doing that and really, shooting for the moon, I myself like that. I mean, you want to have a company that goes for it, right? And maybe that's part of me as being an entrepreneur. I think you, and people maybe who haven't run companies, running a company is about taking risk and understanding that things may or may not work out, but you still have to go for those opportunities. So from that perspective, I totally condone and like what I'm seeing out of Veve. But within that, you do have to have focus, and it is difficult, and it comes down to resources, right, and resource management. And so they are trying to do a lot of different things at the same time. We've seen them. The Veveverse hasn't come out as quickly as we want. The OMI token, that utility, what's happening there. Now, obviously, there are elements of that with legal ramifications that we don't understand. Things are changing all the time, so it may be difficult to play in that game. And there's technologies that are evolving all the time. So that is, really rough waters, but I do think that is a worthwhile endeavor, as obviously they do too. And then, the third one, which I'll talk about, is one of my points here too, is new user acquisition. That should be almost its own project and animal as they try to attempt to figure out what's going on there, because that's not easy, and it's proven to be a tough nut to crack. So that's kind of leads me into my second point, which is new users. I think at this point it's stagnated. I think it's stagnated for 12 months. I think that it's an issue. I hopefully, and I do believe that, if you were to walk in the halls of Veve, it's on their mind. And as with everything, I think you have to try a lot of different things, which they are. Clearly, this is with Blackpink, they tried different things. I know a lot of people scream, marketing, do ads, don't do ads, do interviews, don't do it, it's difficult. Marketing is always a difficult thing to figure out. Some of the things that I have heard and have experience with is, trying to figure out something that works and then, replicate that as much as possible. And so, if I think back in time, some of the things that we've seen in the past that did work was obviously the Disney Golden Moments. I think the OMI token momentum, a lot of people bought the OMI token and then they found Veve that way. And of course, way back in the way, you had like Andre Jick and some other larger influencers who were interested in Veve speak highly of it, and that brought in some people. Other than that, I don't really know or can't think of any large waves of users that have come in and into a process that you could possibly replicate again. Now, maybe they're attempting to do that again with Blackpink, which I think they are. And so that would be kind of like let's see what happened with Golden Moments. Can we do that again with Blackpink? Or other, music, huge social icons, right? And I think that is possible. And obviously we'll see how that pans out. I don't think one drop, although we did see that with the Disney Golden Moments, I think that might have been kind of a black swan event. I don't necessarily think we're going to see, large waves. It might be more like the comics. I was part of that initial group of comic collectors, and it wasn't like, I don't think it was this huge wave. I think it's kind of been the slow trickle of physical comic book holders that have come in. And we've always talked about, are they going to come in? And I believe they're really not. We've got the physical comic book holders that we have got, right? We might get some more, but it's not going to be like, 100,000 more physical comic book collectors are going to come into this space. So what do you do? I mean, that's the challenge, right? If I knew, I would tell them. Obviously, if other people do, we all have ideas and whatnot. It'll be interesting. We don't know, right? Nobody knows what that, kind of elixir is. Obviously, there's a lot of other companies, and there's a lot of companies that spend a lot of money trying to figure that out. And so I think it probably has to be a combination of a lot of different things, and that's one of the big challenges that they're facing. So the third thing I think that they are struggling, which goes hand in hand with marketing, and sorry to sound like such a old school business person here, but is the value proposition of what Veve is. I think there's definitely kind of two things that are slightly at odds, and we see that Veve doesn't really kind of know how to serve these two masters, and so they end up doing weird things with the drop, which obviously happened in Blackpink. So let me explain that more. So I think the two things that are at odds is this concept of collectors at heart, just collect for fun, collect what you love. And then there's this aspect of investment. I don't care what I'm collecting. I just want to buy low and sell high and make some sort of profit. And those things are they kind of go together, but they're a little bit at odds. And you see that when they do drop. So, when you look at the Blackpink, I think, the price points and the number that they had, they were at odds. So it was priced pretty high, 40, 50, 60 US dollars, which is a lot of money, especially if you want to get all 4 women. And then when you look at it from the investment perspective, if it's that expensive, there's too many mints. So in other words, it has to be much scarcer, as we know, for the opportunity for it with the amount of users that we have for it to really scale in terms of having value afterwards. So that's what I mean by some of these things are at odds, and that is kind of where you're at in terms of explaining the value proposition both to existing users and new users. So let me go through that. So most of the users here, and I could be wrong, but most of the users, the 5,000, I always say it's like 5,000, don't quote me on that, but I feel like there's about 5,000 users on Veve, they've been here for 2 years. They're core users, but they came in, most of them, not through the concept of, hey, I want to be a fan and I love Marvel or whatever it might be, but through the OMI and investment angle. And so they continue to think about everything from that perspective. Now, I think some of them have changed over. I do believe a lot of these people have become just kind of pure fans and they're collecting what they want. But I think that, 80%, I don't know, I'm making this number up, are still in this mode of, hey, I buy stuff, I hope that it goes up, and when it doesn't, I have a bad taste in my mouth. Now, when they did their rebranding, when they moved to the collectors at heart, maybe new users that come in, their expectations is different because the whole brand is around collect what you like. And so maybe they're less apt to be like, if I don't, make times 10 off of this collectible, I'm going to be mad. But we haven't gotten as many of those people in, and I do believe that is the direction you want to go, but yet, with these high price points and other things, that, like I said, the value proposition is kind of blurred and people might not understand exactly what that is. And figuring out what that's going to be, and how they're going to do that going forward is something they definitely need to figure out. And so I don't know what they do there. I think it's difficult, but trying to explain what the value proposition is to new customers is super important. And I don't think you want to say these, of course they can't, go out and be like, hey, this is, buy this for, $2 and it's, 10 minutes later it's going to be worth $20. This is the best thing. They do want to kind of lean into this nostalgia, fandom type concept, which they're really trying to figure out. I mean, in a weird way, it's kind of at odds too. Like, if you're going for nostalgia stuff that was out of the 80s, that means those people are inherently older, which maybe they're not as, open-minded towards crypto and blockchain stuff. So it is an odd thing, and I think they're trying to work their way through it. But really, that's what I have for you today. I think it's those 3 things we should watch and see how Veve adapts to those over the next couple months. I'm super excited to see what happens next, and thanks for watching. Take care.